Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Author Spotlight, where we interview some of the greatest authors on the planet. My guest here today is just retired from a 40-plus year in construction management, traveling all over the world and making a difference in the world. And now he's launching his second career of writing, speaking, and coaching. Let's give a big virtual applause to C. Ray Collins from Dallas, Texas. How are you doing, Claude?
I'm doing great, Michael. I'm glad to be here speaking to you.
Well, I know you just got off an interview on the Jeff Crilly show in downtown Dallas the other day, and you were speaking in San Antonio, Texas recently. Tell me, how long have you been a prolific writer? Because you've got a couple of fiction books, you've got a couple of nonfiction books. Kind of bring us up to speed. I know you used to write music and then traveling all over the world, managing these construction jobs. I know you love to travel. Your family just got back from Lima, Peru, right before everything closed down from the pandemic. And you and I were talking about going to Beijing for the book show prior to that. So, have you always loved to travel like that?
Well, yeah, the world interests me. Different people, different places. I always like to learn a little bit about everywhere I go. As far as writing goes, all my life I've kind of written, like say, songs and short stories, and just one of those short stories I had in my head. I just started writing one day, and it turned into a novel. And so I wrote that. It's a sci-fi book which I wrote, and then get into
what if
the
it were possible? I want you to, we just had the Falcon launch successfully yesterday, and seeing these scenes from space outside the launch, just really a few minutes after they took off. Did that bring back some reminiscent memories of you writing this piece of fiction?
Yeah, actually it did. This has been a long time coming. I've really missed our space program, and actually once we went kind of to the shuttle program, it kind of got flat. It didn't get exciting for a while there, but now I can feel that excitement, and I wish I was a young man, was able to take that flight myself. But I'll do it in my writing. Yeah.
I know you've always have had a love for flight, just like I have. I was able to see the Discovery take off in 2005 from Florida, and then was able to meet Jim Bridenstine, who's a congressman from Oklahoma, who President Trump appointed as the administrator at NASA. So proud of him and Elon Musk on a successful launch. And like you said, it was a little boring, but I'm really excited now that private enterprise, SpaceX has partnered with the U.S. government and NASA. I think it's a win-win, and they're already working on the space station. But take us a little bit into the mind of a fiction writer, because it's very rare that we have a best-selling nonfiction author. You write about leadership, you write about communication and management in business. How do you find bandwidth in your head to also be a successful fiction writer?
Well, I don't know how. I think everybody walks around and a thought will come in their head about, hey, that'd be a good story, or that'd be a good thought to put down on paper, and so that's kind of how it originates. I think growing up, I'm truly, you can tell by the way I talk, I'm truly a country boy. I grew up in the country, and we relied on our imagination a lot of time for our entertainment. And so, I've always had a good imagination, and I build off of that. So.
Hey, I grew up on the farm in Oklahoma too, and I know you grew up in southern Oklahoma. And
right.
there were two words I would never say to my parents, and that was, "I'm bored." You never said, "I'm
absolutely.
bored." And
No,
so you
sir.
learned how. I had a brother, and we had 30 cows, and you go play in the pasture or in the barn or do something.
That's right. Yeah, we're never in the house. That's just a rarity to be in the house. So. We're always out doing something. Building. I even built a plane and drug it up into a tree and flew it out of the tree. Of course, it was a short flight, and fortunately, I didn't get hurt. But anyway, that's things you do when you're entertaining yourself. So
I think that's how Orville and Wilbur got started, and so I think you just needed. I think you needed a bigger runway, and you might have made that happen. So. My dad tells the story about him with his two brothers, and they were playing Cowboys and Indians, and come inside, my uncle had gotten shot through the cheek with with an arrow. Fortunately, it came out of his mouth, and he was okay. He didn't go to the doctor or anything.
Well,
My grandpa cut that off. But
yeah.
growing up on the farm, we kind of criticize the younger generation for being weak and playing video games and not being tough. But I think there's something to be said for growing up on the farm and having that imagination. That's what helped me overcome my stuttering. Was we would, I told you this story about create movies in our mind on the farm with my brother. So give us a little bit of peek into the nonfiction. This book on leadership, I'm really excited about, because this is something that's been proven and tested in your 40-year career that you've taught your managers, your employees over the years. Dive into this a little bit, and then we want a little peek into the new book that's coming out for sure.
So leadership followed behavior tools originates from a training that I put together originally. And I wrote this book because the training by itself just wasn't enough information. So, and what it's really about is learning how to communicate positively with your workers or your followers, and how to get the best out of them, how to help them improve on their abilities and turn, everything into a positive, which creates a positive workforce and makes it more productive. And so that's kind of how the book had come about. It's just really, it's a tool. The book is not a book you sit down and read for hours. It's really a tool that you can take, and there's information in there that you can start using immediately. And it also, there's touches on research that's been done on how conversations and subconscious work. We don't take the time a lot of time to let our subconscious tell us a lot of information we need to use, and how words affect our subconscious. So,
well, it's a really powerful tool. And when you were speaking in Tampa recently, and also in San Antonio, you demonstrated this by the way a manager speaks to an employee can make a huge difference. If that employee is counting on that job to feed his family, he or she can either love or hate that job, and it's much better. And really, the tools you shared, I'm 52, and I'm like, oh, I wish I knew this 30 years ago, because it could have made my life a lot easier with some of my employees and things, and even some of my family members in the way I communicate. So give us a peek of what is in the new book, and have you settled in on a title yet?
No, I think I told you I've got a working title called Thought Talk. And really, it's really kind of feeding off of the leadership book as far as a positive communication. Everything we do, communication is, we're involved in communication, and probably 99% of our problems in this world is because we don't communicate very well. So my theory behind this, I want to be the force of positivity. So it starts from the time you get up in the morning until you go to bed at night, and there's steps that we do every day that it's positive things. And I get into it in the new book, talking about, get up, make your bed. That's the first positive step. You completed the night, you're starting your day, make your bed. That's
okay, I got a minus mark already on that one.
And then the second thing, no matter what the day is, get up, get dressed, comb your hair, brush your teeth, shave, just like you got somewhere to go every day. That's a positive act. And those two little steps by themselves will already start these positive waves going on in your mind. And then the next thing you need to do, that we need to do more of, and that's just smile at yourself. And then from that point, you carry it on into the day, and you pass it on to the next person. And first thing you know, you've got positive atmosphere around you, and you're creating a positive atmosphere. And this was family and friends. And this is mainly more what this is about, just general conversation of being positive. And I even got a chapter just dealing about communicating with your family or friends. So,
well, that's really exciting, and it's really powerful during this pandemic, because people get lazy working from home in their PJs. They know they can get away with sleeping in, but I'm actually sharing your website right now at craycollins.com. People can buy the ebook, the paperback, the hardcover, and And what if it were possible right here? In fact, people that want to inquire about having you come speak to their organization can fill out the form, and that's for virtual speaking and for speaking on stage. I know, in fact, you're going to be speaking on Daniel Gomez's stage back in San Antonio. And wow, what do you think about that? I thought Daniel put on a really great event. You were at the last one. What was your take on that?
Oh yeah, I thought Daniel, him and his team did a great job, and um, the the atmosphere was one of those atmospheres that you would feel if you was on the stage with 2,000 people. I mean, it really was an outstanding setup, and I really enjoyed it. And then I'm looking forward to this one in July. So,
It's going to be a lot of fun. Even Daniel says hi. He says congratulations. He's watching today, and we've got several people from around the globe. We've got Elizabeth watching from United Kingdom and Great Britain. So thank you, Elizabeth, for commenting. And we've actually got Linda Smith, who's going to be our next guest up. So thanks, Linda, for sharing with us here. We can't wait. In about 20 minutes, we're going to have Linda Smith from California is going to be showing us her moves on Divine Unwind with her book that's actually revolutionizing seniors who are stuck in nursing homes and things to get up and get moving. And she's actually a certified somatic movement coach and teacher, which is pretty unique. We're very excited about this book. But anybody that's watching here that wants to be a part of Daniel's speaking event in San Antonio, there's the link. It's July 24th and 25th, or 23rd, 24th, or 24th and 25th. Check it out. Join us in San Antonio. I've had a couple of people, Claude, this week that said from California, they're like, oh, I can't leave. And I'm like, you can fly out of California. Now, we don't know if you can get back in.
Yeah.
Just stay in Texas, right? So we're going to say.
In this new book I got coming out, I've even quoted Daniel several times on some of his Facebook comments about, how you start your day is how your day is going to go. So that's part of this positive thought process that people need to go through. So,
yeah, he's going to be sharing some great stuff, and you got some fans there. Justin Collins, I have a feeling there. Yep. You probably Justin probably learned some good things over the years. I'm sure you've done really well. Well, Daniel, he got his first speaking gig. It was the Air Force that called him, Claude, and he thought it was a prank. They said, this is the Captain so-and-so from the U.S. Air Force. He says he really thought it was a prank, but they found him on his website. And so Daniel's going to be teaching how to get paid to speak, how to get paid speaking gigs. So really excited about that. But I got a question for you. We're watching the racial unrest in the country, and we're brokenhearted about this gentleman that died. It was very sad and tragic, but we're seeing a lot of rioting and burning and looting and things like that. Are there any, because you're a leadership speaker, what words do you have? What are your thoughts right now on the state of the country and what we can do to move forward?
Well, I'm very saddened and brokenhearted over what's going on. The protest over the death, which was a wrongful death, and I don't think there's any question in that. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's a step that people should take. But now it's turned to more than that, and that's discouraging, and it also it's hurting many other people. The biggest thing, that you got to communicate. We talk about this, and communication is a two-way street. You got to get the powers to be, you got to get them all on the same page somehow, and it all starts with dialogue. And who starts that? Who's going to be that brave person that steps up and starts that? This is where it's all going to come down to. So I hope that here pretty quick somebody steps forward and says, okay, let's get together and get this all resolved.
Yeah, that would be great. The country needs that. Everyone needs that. We all need healing, and we're all sad about this tragic. One thing about it, a lot of businesses are hurt. I mean, we grieve for the family of the victim here.
Yes.
So what's next for you? Because I know you're very excited. You and I were actually, like I said, talking about going to the Beijing Book Show in August, which They're still saying it's going to happen. I'm not going to go there and risk my health. I think it's a little too soon to go. But next year, I know we've got lots of events planned. We've got the Guadalajara Book Show in December. I want you to come down and be a part of that event. And you're right there in Texas, and you've got getting some good comments here. Linda loves your accent. So the question is, did you always have this accent, or was it after you moved south of the Red River?
No, actually, everybody in Southeast Oklahoma talks the same way I do. So I always thought once I got through my education, I would move off and get around people that didn't talk like me. I'd get rid of this. But the first 12 years of my working career, I worked in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So I don't even have it's not just a country boy accent, it's a Southern accent added to it. So I finally just gave up, said this is the way I speak. And like I say, if you don't remember what I teach you, you'll remember me because of the way I talk. So,
well, you probably have had a lot of fun traveling all over the world, and people trying to guess where you're from. They can probably pick it up pretty quick, can't they?
Oh yeah, most people always say Texas first. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's the first thing that comes to their mind. Oh, that's Texas, yeah. So, yeah. So talking about the leadership book.
Great book. Yeah. Congrats. You went number one on Amazon.
What's coming up, or what's which, like I say, I'll be in San Antonio in July with you and Daniel, and then I have 2 book signings that was originally set up just for all the house and place started, and I've visited back with those, and we're looking maybe latter part of July, 1st August, we're going to have those back going here in Dallas. And then, of course, I plan on going to Mexico. I'm in the process right now of having my book translated into Spanish and also into Chinese. So
very, very beautiful. Yeah.
Trying to really
that's the thing. A lot of new authors, particularly authors in English, don't think about the fact that 76% of books in English are bought and read outside of the US. And so having it translated, very important, very huge. And you need to talk to us about that, authors, because it can really open the doors to get more exposure globally. When you think about it, when you think about the number of expats too that are living globally, right? Because China is the number 1 English-speaking nation in the world, and then you've got the U.S., but then you've got Nigeria and India that are close 3 and 4. So it's huge. And so, can you give us a little peek on what's inside this next nonfiction book that you're working on?
Yeah, so I get in, and like I say, I start out talking about how you be the force of positivity, and it starts at the beginning of your day, making your bed, getting dressed, getting ready. But there's other parts of that. You need to do a little exercising when you first thing. And I'm not talking about a 30, 40-minute exercise. You just get up and get the blood flowing. Do 5 minutes of jumping jacks or push-ups, or do 5 minutes of yoga or whatever that just gets the blood flowing in your body. And then you need to spend another 5 minutes either meditating or praying. Praying works best for me, but for other people, it might be meditating. Give opportunity to kind of release any thoughts in your mind and get your mind ready for that positive day. And then I get into also about how we say so much negative stuff without realizing what we're doing. This gets back into the thought talk. Wait that 2 seconds for your subconscious to give you what's the best option to talk. I use a kind of an example. 2 guys are walking into work together, and one guy says, "Hey, Tom, how's your day? Or how's your weekend?" And he says, "Oh," I said, "it was great." He says, I finally waxed and cleaned up my truck." And the other guy says, "Well, it's about time, but good for you." Well, when he said it's about time is a negative attitude. If he would have started with, "Well, good for you," that would have been positive, and then he could have tagged that tease on to the end of it, and it wouldn't matter. But it's all in the way you approach things. So,
well, it's very, very, very powerful and very great communication tools, because this can help people succeed not only in business but also in life and in relationships. So, hey, you retired just 6 months ago or so, and how are you enjoying your retirement?
Well, I was enjoying it really well. I'm not too fond about being closed in the house all the time, which I haven't been totally closed in, but I'll be glad in where we get moving around and doing more things. Actually, I retired in July, so I'm almost got a year behind me now. So, um, like I say, I've spent the time writing. I am writing on my second sci-fi. Uh, just kind of split my time between fiction and nonfiction writing. I've written a couple of little songs I've sent off for contests just to get feedback on them. I've written a couple short stories. I've done the same thing with those for feedback.
Is
So
guitar
yeah,
your primary instrument you play?
well, I play guitar and I can chord a little bit on piano. I'm not gifted piano player, but I can chord a little bit and guitar, yeah. So.
Well, that's very exciting. Is that how you do? You typically write the words first, or you typically do the melody on the guitar as you're writing the words, or how does that work?
I usually end up writing the words first,
Okay.
and melody. And like I say, I'm not by any means a professional player. I'm pretty limited on my rhythm that I find. So, uh, but
Well, I
usually
know you've
it's
been writing for years, and I really I know something's going to happen here. So check out the book Leadership. You can get it on Claude's website at craycollins.com, and you can also get the fiction book, What If It Were Possible. So more fiction to come and more nonfiction to come from you. And kudos on the music submissions as well. I really love it when people don't just retire and go sit in a rocking chair. You're ready to travel the world, and you're doing amazing things. So it's
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I'm not ready to sit in a rocking chair yet. So
I
yeah,
hear you. I
it's
hear you.
whenever the crisis hit and everybody started staying home, I even had a couple because the one area, construction management was still going, and I said, hey, maybe I'll just go back and work for a couple of months, just so I wouldn't have to sit at home, But
That's an essential service is
yeah,
construction.
yeah. So, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. So,
Okay. Well, we're glad you're having fun and continuing to write. So thanks for joining us on a Sunday afternoon in Dallas. I know it's beautiful, and I'm typically in Dallas. I'm up here with the family in Oklahoma. So Claude, thanks so much, and we'll be in touch soon. And we appreciate you for joining us here on the Author Spotlight today.
thank you, and I've enjoyed it. Talk to you later.
Bye bye now.
Bye bye.